Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC, and today we're going to talk about vices, and in particular, what we're going to do with those vices once SHTF hits. And so, with everything that's going on, and I live out, I don't live in a major city. Um, and I do go to um, town, to buy things. I do go to work and whatnot. And I would imagine most, if not all of you, view this, probably see it on a day to day basis, where it seems like everybody's getting short with everybody. It doesn't matter if it's driving, if it's in the store, whether it's customers or um, the actual employees. It's like good help cannot be found, and it's just going everywhere. So let's take it into it. So how many of us drink coffee? Morning time rolls around, the alarm dings, and the first thing you do, you get up, you stretch, and you head to the coffee pot. I'm guilty of it. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. Let's say that you are a person that works outside. You do a 40, 50-hour day, something like those lines there, and you are slaving away in the hot sun. You're a framer, you're a welder, bricklayer, whatever. You're just slaving away. And this would be fun because I'm going to do demonstration to see how many people either gain or lose out of this. So let's see how many people go through and everything. But let's say that you went all week and it is hot and you are slaving. And the first thing you want to do when you get home is you get home and you kick your boots off, you grab your cigarette, you light it up, and then the next thing that you want to do right after you get that cigarette is you take and you pop the top to a cold beer and you want to relax. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. You worked hard all week, and you're just going to have to excuse me because I did light this, so, well, it did go out, but I'm going to finish it. So, you have a vice, or like a lot of Americans, you have many vices. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, all of that is bad for you. Too much coffee, bad for you. Smoking, obviously bad for you. Drinking, bad for you. A lot of the vices are bad for you. Even if it's, a chocolate bar or going out and eating some greasy food, whatever your vice is, more than likely 9 times out of 10, it's bad for you. So, what are you going to do when SHTF hits the fan? Now I understand that for one, let's start out with coffee. You're going to say, Rural, I have stacked coffee to the rafters, and I have a percolator, and I know what I'm doing. Great. So do I. I have a bunch of coffee. I have a percolator. When I go camping, coffee comes with me. There's nowhere that I wake up that there's no coffee, okay? But if you Mylar bag your coffee, the second that you unseal that, the time starts to tick. It goes bad. You have to use it. And you can only store so much coffee. Even if you have an entire room filled with coffee, a long enough SHTF, and you're going to run out. So, I live in Ohio. I don't know about most of you. I know I've got people from, right here in Ohio to all over the country to outside of the country. And then I'll tell you right now, I cannot grow coffee in Ohio. I suppose if I really tried hard and I had a bunch of help and some other things, I might be able to. but that would probably require electricity and growing it indoors or at least in a greenhouse, and then I'd probably have to have technology. Could it be done without technology? Probably. If you hear something in the background, I've got the farmer over here doing some stuff with the tractor. My kid's out back playing, so excuse that. But anyway, I'm just saying, other people that have that vice of drinking coffee probably doesn't. And then you can watch how people are acting today when they can have coffee, when they can have a cigarette, when they can have beer and all the other, chocolate and greasy food and whatever vices, and the way they act now. Now, take it to where you go to that they can suddenly no longer get coffee and how cranky and desperate they're going to be to want coffee. Now let's add to it, because a lot of people have more than one vice. So what about cigarettes? You can buy a bunch of cigarettes and you can freeze them and do different things, but eventually they're going to run out. Same thing with vaping. I know that you can buy a whole bunch of vape supplies, and it doesn't take much to charge up some of them vape pens and things. You can solar them or whatever, but still, at some point in time, you're going to run out. And same thing with alcohol. Now, yeah, I'm sure alcohol is a little different, that you could actually, take some fruit and sugar and whatnot and make your own, little fermentation process and things like that. But, that's probably the easier of the one, but still that takes a lot of time and a lot of resources. And honestly, that sugar and fruit and everything's going to be better eaten than trying to make alcohol. So anyway, when it comes to SHTF, have you thought about your vices? And I would say that probably a decent portion of you have. And that's good. Those of you that are new and haven't, you might really want to start thinking about it. But really, the purpose of this not only is kind of like a little reminder that all of us have vices, and some of us have better control over it than others. Some of us could, walk away. Like, for me, with alcohol, I could stop drinking tonight and wouldn't faze me. Don't care. Smoking, on the other hand, if I had to, I'm probably going to be real grumpy and everything for a little bit, but I'm sure I have the willpower, whatnot. Coffee, on the other hand, is going to be a lot harder. That's going to be one of my big ones, but I'm sure I can figure it out. So it comes down to, what about your neighbors? What about even people in your house, your roommate, your spouse, kids, people on your block, anything along those lines? If you live in an apartment, people in your apartment buildings. What about them? How are they going to deal with it? Especially if they know you have it. Then what? They start getting desperate, especially cigarettes, I would see. But each their own person. It's going to depend on how well they can control their vice and their urges and their addictions and things like that. But it goes into it more. And this is only the legal stuff. We haven't even touched on the people's vices that are the hard illegal drugs and things like that. And even the ones that you may not even think about. Think about some of these younger people that are addicted to their phones and Wi-Fi. When that goes out, how much they're going to freak out and become desperate to know that they can't charge their phone, to play maybe a game that they downloaded. They don't need the internet. They just need power, and they know you have it. I've seen people get into fist fights over a pair of shoes, to think and be naive enough to think that somebody's not going to try and kick your door in when something happens so they can charge up their cell phone. Okay. But there's a lot. There's the young kids with video games. There's people that are going to become desperate for gasoline, propane. I mean, anything along those lines. And it's going to come down to the thing where a lot of us, when it comes down to defense, it always comes down to, I'm protecting my food, my water, the people that I love inside my house. And that's great. But that also covers people's vices. And that includes if you have coffee, if you have cigarettes, if you have alcohol. And that goes back into that huge thing, and I don't know why it's such a huge thing, on the bartering system. I don't know why it's such a big thing to have alcohol, to have coffee, to have cigarettes, to have different things, because to be able to use those vices to your advantage. But now I understand. I've talked to many of you on this. If you have a pack of cigarettes, especially if you don't smoke, you've never smoked, you don't plan on smoking, to walk up to somebody that you know that does and try and trade that and go, hey, I want 2 of your chickens, a gallon of water, and a pound of sugar for this pack of cigarettes. Depending on how desperate they are, they may take you up on that offer. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to say that you should screw over people by any means. This is examples. But it also gives them the thing. Now they know you have it. So they may laugh at you, they may get angry at you, and they may turn that deal down. But now they know that you have their vice. And to some people, especially during kind of that beginning time, some of that stuff may be more valuable to them than, a gallon of clean drinking water. Especially some of the harder drugs and some of the stuff like that. Uh, you know, it could get really bad really fast. It can get really ugly. And, I'm sure there's people out there that grow tobacco. In Ohio, I'm a little southern enough that I could probably grow some. I've never tried. I've heard of people, even in northern Ohio, that have successfully grown their own. So it is possible. And depending on where you live, you may already grow it or you can grow it. Again, we've talked about the alcohol and how you can make your own. Um, Depending on where you live, you might be able to do coffee too. But this will circle back and we'll end with this. Realize and be honest with yourself. A lot of this, when you're prepping and you're getting prepared and you're starting out, be honest with yourself. List out your vices. List out those things that you have urges for, that you do, once a week, or you do daily, or multiple times a day or whatever. List those out. How are you going to deal with that? We all cover the basics, the food, the water, the medicine, all the basic stuff. But a lot of them leave out vices. And I don't know if that's quite a good idea. So that's why I wanted to make this video. What is your vices? How are you going to deal with your own vices? And how are you going to deal with other people's vices? So, but something to think about. A little homework, I know. But with that, make sure you do all the fun YouTube things. Hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so that way you can be notified of all the future content as everybody goes driving by me. Gotta love neighbors while you try and make video. And then check out us on Facebook.